So this is Gaia, the first LLM-powered Oracle network on Arbitrum, built to bring reward adjudication on chain and resolve dynamic, non-deterministic market at machine speed. So it answers questions like, did this protocol get exploited? Did Arbitrum TVL reach 2 billion this week? And more dynamic market like, did the grantee fulfill his part of the promise and all that. This is live proof. This shows some of the settled market that naturally existing Oracle system cannot, answer to. Now, the interesting part of this is that each step that Gaia LLM nodes take, they submit proofs on chain. So, what can use Gaia? It ranges from DeFi protocols to prediction market to DeFi insurances to governance. So that was just the docs, and we'll get back to that. So here is how we create a market. So these are some of the settled market or disputed markets. And the interesting thing about this is the way we reach consensus on markets. So two things are essential for reaching consensus on Gaia. One is EAO, which is called the Evaluative Attestation Object. When a Gaia Oracle node finishes evaluating the market, it does not just say yes or no, it packages its entire conclusion into a single structured object, a formal record of what it decided, how confident it was, why it reached that conclusion and proof that the evidence it used is real and retrievable. That package is what we call EAO. So on this screen here, we are creating a market which are trying to reach a conclusion on whether USDC depeg below $0.95. And we are providing a source URL that each of these nodes will fetch, perform inference, and then reach conclusion on with the EAO. Also, one thing I've not talked about is how consensus is reached. There's something we call schema isomorphism check, which is basically how Gaia determines whether two nodes actually agree. So reaching the same outcome is not enough on its own. Two nodes can both say that true, while one is 98% confident, the other one can be 40% confident. So that divergence is equally important in Gaia. It means that they did not read the same thing the same ways, and forcing these two into agreement would be fabricating consensus. So schema isomorphism check applies three conditions, and all three conditions must hold for two nodes to count as matching. First, the outcome must be identical. Both say true, both say false, or both say unresolvable. Second, the confidence score must be within 500 basis points of each other. Essentially, that is 5%. So if one node is at 90% and the other is at 5%, they pass. If one is at 90% and the other is at 50%, they do not. Third, at least three of the justification vectors must match. And what are justification vectors? Justification vectors are four Boolean flags that exist within an EAO framework. And these four justification vectors are: one, was the data source actually verified and readable? Two, that on the screen is the EAO. And back to what I was saying. Two, is the claim being evaluated still temporarily valid? Was the timing right? Three, is the evidence conclusive enough to support the verdict? Four, is there any contradicting data in the source that will undermine the conclusion? So when this This when at least three of the four justification vectors match, the node must agree, or rather, it means that the nodes agree. So the nodes must agree not just on what the answer is, but on the epistemic basis, which is why the answer holds. Only when these three conditions are satisfied are two counted as genuinely agreeing. And lastly, the contract checks all possible pairs. Node 1 against node 2, node 1 against node 3, node 2 against node 3. The first pair that satisfies the schema isomorphism check against each other becomes the quorum, and the quorum is the minimum level of agreement required before Gaia will accept a verdict as true. So in Gaia, three nodes evaluate every market, but for settlement to happen, two of those three nodes must agree, not necessarily all three. So that is the quorum. So this is the docs as well. It contains the explanation around Gaia, the narrative, the architecture, what what an EAO is, quorums, schema isomorphism check, and all that. So also we are also actively implementing SDKs, APIs to allow anybody to query the outcomes or integrate Gaia to build dynamic markets or systems that allow dynamic markets to thrive. So all these are in active implementation and phases, and we roll them out slowly, make proper cleanups, integrations, expand the multi-LLM node to have a more decentralized adjudication layer so that we're able to hit across much more dynamic markets and go beyond just you know certain structures of web that can be fetched. So the goal is more structure, more implementation, more building on top to actually make Gaia a part of Arbitrum that can resolve dynamic markets and dynamic prices and you know interpret actual real world events.